The DCEU, a dying franchise on the final breaths of its life that is the final 4 movies. Or final 2, or I don't know, it's hard to keep up with the looming soft reboot on the horizon. But with the end in sight, fans all around the world gathered to fill the theaters to say goodbye to some of their favorite heroes, one of which being Shazam. Well, at least that's what should have happened, right? Instead, it seems the opposite was reality. Shazam! Fury of the Gods was a box office flop, and we here at Hero Tweak want to do a deep dive into why this happened and what could have been done to make this movie a box office hit. Spoiler alert, moving forward, I will discuss plot details about the film. If you haven't seen Shazam 2, you've been warned. Tweak number 1, make Shazam matter. We should start with the obvious thing that hurt this movie's chances of success. James Gunn's DCU Chapter 1 video. Now you may be asking me, how did this hurt it? And to you I say, how didn't it? I personally look forward to the new DCU and feel as if James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to do great things for this franchise fans like myself hold so near and dear. That means I just wanted to start already. And these next 4 movies, starting with Shazam, are still DCEU movies. Or maybe not? Like I said in the intro, it's just hard to put the pieces together, and not like a good put the pieces together, like I can't find my keys kind of mystery put the pieces together. It's just annoying. We as fans should have a clear future to look forward to, and I know at some point we will, maybe after the Flash film, but for now, we're still left with more questions than answers. With that being said, Shazam 2 had very little chances of success due to them not making it clear on if this movie even matters in the new DCU or not. To many, this felt like a throwaway film, something that the studio had to do to try to make a return on profit, but not anything that will play into the greater DC future. Mix that in with those who are boycotting the new DCU because they won't restore the Snyderverse, and folks who are angry about leading star Zachary Levi and his opinions about Big Pharma, and you've got yourself a flop before the movie even releases. Tweak number 2, making lightning strike twice. All the pre-release drama aside, if the movie was incredible, I believe it could have overcome those obstacles just off the buzz alone. Don't forget, it's a common thing in the superhero genre that fans who love the movie generally go see it more than once. So how do we ensure fans love this movie and see it more than once? You hold on to what fans loved about the first movie without oversaturating the film with it. A lot of fans love the lightheartedness of the first Shazam, especially coming from the DCEU franchise, which was historically dark. The bright colors, the childish humor, it all added to what felt like a refreshing film. So what did Warner Bros. Do for the second? Up the ante. And I'm talking upped the ante. I'm talking psycho demon unicorns and Dadmobile Minotaur showdowns, things that were just outright silly at times. I understand there's a level of suspended belief that you gotta have going into the films of this genre, but you mean to tell me that Skittles, hear me, Skittles saved this little girl from getting impaled by something that supposedly hates humans so much because it's the closest thing to the nectar of the gods? Just outright silly. And honestly, if they have dialed down the childish meter a little more, a lot of their jokes would have landed better. And the shocking moments of horror wouldn't have seemed like such an out of place moment, which leads me to my next point. Tweak number 3, finding Billy Batson. As much as Warner heard the love from the first film and doubled down on it, they ignored the criticism from the first film and doubled down on it. That being that the film feels like 2 different movies at points. One moment is a comedy, family-friendly movie, and the next, you got an eye socket demon murdering a room of executives in brutal fashion and throwing siblings out of a skyscraper window, much less. Well, in Shazam 2, at one moment, you got a rom-com flirty exchange between a boy and his newfound crush that he so desperately wants to impress. And the next moment, you got a deranged goddess mind-controlling a helpless teacher and making him jump off the roof, and then describing it as a burst. What? David Sandberg's horror stamp on a family-friendly film just doesn't work at times. It creates a two-tone movie that's just as two-toned as Billy Batson to Shazam. That's right, the title character of the film isn't even consistent with himself. As a normal kid, Billy feels the weight of being a hero while simultaneously feeling the weight of aging out of the foster care system and losing the family that he just made. You understand his pain. You see how much he loves his foster family. He feels like a character who's heavily burdened. You want him to succeed. But then he says the word of power.
This is very personal.
And somehow, somewhere in between saying Shazam and becoming Shazam, he actually turns into a kid. And not even like a 17-year-old kid like he's supposed to be, like a juvenile 12-year-old kid who doesn't take anything seriously. It's jarring and confusing, and it makes me feel like maybe they didn't understand the character of Billy and Shazam from the comics much. I mean, and if they were to create a subtext or an explanation for Billy hiding behind his humor or hiding behind his power, then maybe it would have worked better and wouldn't feel like two different characters. Or maybe you throw in some of Shazam's humor to Billy as a way to make it seem more genuine, more like his personality, instead of it feeling like two different personalities. And me personally, there wasn't enough Billy in this movie. Asher Angel is a good actor and wasn't given the screen time he deserved. So my tweak number 3 would be to give Asher Angel more screen time and make Billy and Shazam the same character. Tweak number 4, an electric third act. This is the problem I think a lot of superhero movies run into, is the third act, especially in the MCU, it being just a big CGI skeptical. I personally don't mind big CGI skepticals if it's done right. And this movie, honestly, the villains just weren't the greatest, in my opinion. So picture this, dream with me for a little. The realm of gods have been diminished, destroyed by the wizards, and the 3 daughters of Atlas vow to restore their homeland, much like the actual plot of the movie. And the story can play out the same as the movie. Everything that we've seen leading up to the third act could be the same. Hespera, Calypso, Anthea, they go out and search for the seed, which is the golden apple. They succeed, they find it, but Calypso turns on them, just like in the regular movie. Here's where I would like for it to be a little different though. When Calypso turns her back on her sisters, Calypso is not the final villain. Calypso is just a gateway to the final villain. And my proposed final villain would be King Cole from the comics. Hear me out. Let's just say, because in the comics, King Cole was in a suspended animation. This powerful, super strong, super powered human was put in suspended animation. Let's just say that back in the day, the gods were both horrified and intrigued by his power and decided to put him in that suspended animation. And the only way to get him out of that was to plant that seed in the earth realm, which they thought would never happen. However, it does. Calypso plants the seed in the Philly Stadium just like normal. The mythical creatures come out just like normal. But King Cole rises from his suspended animation, which was in the root of the tree as well. Being angry at the gods for doing what they did to him, he's on a rampage and he notices all of these godlike powers around him. And what's the first thing he wants to do? Get revenge. Calypso, thinking she won, revels in her seeming victory when all of a sudden King Cole attacks her in the blink of an eye, moving at lightning speeds and killing her. He's angry with the gods and he notices this flying superhuman coming at him and assumes that he is a god as well. So that sets up the conflict between Shazam and King Cole. Him being a vengeful person automatically just wants to harm anybody who seems like they have godlike powers. That leads to their battle. Freddy comes in afraid. The whole Shazam League gets their powers back because my proposal is Anthea somehow retrieves the staff and restores the powers to the Shazam League so that they can join into the final battle. I personally did not like the absence of the Shazam League's powers in the final battle. I felt like it would have been very nice to see more of them in their prime doing what they do. So it's just one of those things that I personally didn't enjoy, but I digress. This film needed a third act villain that could have matched up with Shazam and made sense. I understand that the Daughters of Atlas are literal goddesses. So it makes sense. But to be honest, he didn't even fight the Daughters of Atlas. He fought a dragon, which sounds awesome and looked awesome, by the way. The fight with the dragon was really cool, but I just feel like the third act villain wasn't what it needed to be to get fans a little more excited. So my proposal would be to replace the third act villain with someone like a King Cole or someone who can go blow for blow with Shazam and make the action sequence be a little more hand-to-hand combat. The final tweak: change the hierarchy of power in the DCU. If you didn't know, The Rock had a lot of say on if Shazam and Black Adam ever crossed paths, and it seemed like they weren't anytime soon. In fact, the original post-credit scene of the movie, as confirmed by Zachary Levi, was Shazam being recruited by the Justice Society by Hawkman and Cyclone. That would have been awesome. But again, the studio gave Dwayne too much power and the scene had to be changed last minute. Our proposed end credit scenes would have been something to set up the Flash and something to show fans Shazam is still in the new DCU. Mid credits, you could keep the original with him being recruited by the Justice Society, by Hawkman and Cyclone. And the end credit would be a page out of Marvel's book with the flash of lightning running fast past the screen, cutting to the words, "Shazam will return post Flashpoint." Well, let me know what you think about these tweaks that we made to Shazam 2. And do you think that if we were to apply these tweaks, it would have been a box office hit? I don't know. Comment down below. Let's dialogue and let's talk about it.
See you, chump.